Hi, this is Alessio, Rastani, leading trader. Hope you're well. In this video, we're going to discuss whether Bitcoin is actually crashing, as the financial media keeps telling us, or if not, then what is really going on here in Bitcoin, and what is the next likely move for the cryptocurrency. In the last few days, over the Christmas holidays, there's been a lot of talk in financial newspapers and the media about a crash in Bitcoin, as you can see here in this particular news article. And in fact, some analysts are even talking about a bear market in Bitcoin. Now, it is important to appreciate that a lot of the folks in the media simply do not know what they're talking about in relation to Bitcoin and also price analysis. For example, some people in the media have been calling this drop in Bitcoin a crash, whereas actually, I think you'll agree with me, this does not look like a crash at all, but actually more like a reversion back to the mean, which I'll talk to you more about in a few moments. For example, if we just go back a few more months, let's go back to September of this year, and just take a look at how price acted back then. And you'll see that we had a big, massive rally from July, August, followed by a pullback, or indeed a reversion to the mean, followed by then a bounce and a move higher, which in fact you'll see it continued to move higher. And I don't remember anyone talking about a crash back in September. And you know what? Because back then in September, price of Bitcoin had not gone above 10,000. So it wasn't receiving the strong media attention it's getting now. So here's one important thing the financial media is not telling you, which is that price often behaves like an elastic band. When you stretch an elastic band between your fingers, what happens? Eventually, that elastic band reaches a point where it wants to snap back to its normal state. In price analysis, we call this reversion to the mean, which is exactly what's been happening here so far in Bitcoin. We had a big move up. Take a look over here. Notice that we had a strong move up. In fact, what's happened since November is price moved very fast, perhaps a bit too fast, and also too far away from its average prices. These lines you see on my chart, this is the 21, 55, and the 100 moving averages. And all it does, these lines, they average out the price according to a set number of days. And all you need to remember is that price is a tendency. Price is a tendency to revert back to these levels. In fact, think of these moving averages almost like magnets. The further away price gets from these levels, the more likely it's going to snap back to these levels at some point. This behavior of price is important to appreciate, because just look back what happened again back in September of this year. Again, remember, back then nobody was publishing articles about, a crash in Bitcoin and a bear market in Bitcoin. And even if they were wrong. Because look what happened back then. Again, let's just recap. Price had a massive move up, okay? But look how far away it got from its averages, especially the 100 average. And why is that important? Because the big financial players and the institutions do look at this 100 moving average on the chart. It's a key level, and it tends to hold price very well. Again, notice what happened here. Let me just show you. Back in September, when price dropped to its 100 average, notice it held this level and then rebounded from that level. Again, let's just go back a few more months. This is back in July of this year, of 2017. Again, notice we had a massive move up, and then followed by a pullback, and then reversion to the mean, back to the 100 daily average, and then the rally ensued, continued, okay? And this has been happening, in fact, throughout 2017. Here it is again for you. In fact, you can see it twice on my chart. Back over here, back in January of 2017, dropped down to the 100 average, and then bounced. And then again, in March of this year, dropped to the 100 daily average, and then another bounce up again. So let's remember, as I'm sure you'll agree with me, a lot of the sensational hype and nonsense in the media is just that, sensational headlines with absolutely no truth in them whatsoever. Okay, let's go now to the right hand side of my chart, and let's examine what's happening here. Notice again that the price of Bitcoin is considerably far away from its 55 and far away from its 100 daily averages. So remember, these levels are levels that tend to be tested and tend to be touched by the price. Maybe not now, but certainly possibly in the next couple of weeks, maybe in the next month. So what are these levels right now? The 55 moving average is right now about 11,000. And the daily 100 average, the brown line you see in my chart, is right now just under 9,000, about 8,700. So it is likely that what we're seeing here on Bitcoin is simply a reversion back to the mean, back to the averages. In other words, we could see a move that could take us down perhaps to the 55, maybe the 11,000 level, and maybe even down to the 9,500 level here before we see another push up higher to retest the previous highs. But let's just remember that until we see evidence to the contrary, what's happening right now, what's been happening in Bitcoin over the last few days and weeks, is simply a return back to the averages. Now, the second thing I need to bring to your attention is Elliott wave theory. And according to Elliott wave theory, when markets have a correction, so in other words, when we see a drop in the price after a big move up, like this, the correction, the corrective move, is usually formed of three sections. And those three sections are called, often by chartists and Elliott wave technicians, as ABC moves, or a two-step correction, or a zigzag. As you can see here, this is the correction. This, what you see on the chart, that ABC movement that you see on the chart here was a correction this previous rally. Okay, and what that means is that we should be looking out for some kind of three-section correction in the market. Now, are we seeing a three-section correction here? Possibly, yes. In fact, take a look here. You will see that was the initial thrust down. That was the first initial drop, potentially, back from the highs we made in December to the drop down before Christmas. Notice now that we're having this bounce back up, and potentially, again, potentially, we might be seeing the third, that's a C wave, to complete this ABC move. And that C wave could take us anything from 11,000 to maybe even 10,000, maybe even slightly lower, as you can see here. Okay. However, if price of Bitcoin can recover here, if we see a recovery and a move back up 17,000, that's the key level to remember. We need to see a move above 17,000 on Bitcoin before we can be confident that buyers of Bitcoin have returned to the market and buyers are now in control. And it's only if we get a move above 17,000 that we can have more confidence of a further move up to retest the previous highs and then back up to 20,000. So until we see a move above 17,000, we cannot say with much confidence that that's a possibility or even a likelihood. At the moment, sellers still have the edge. So in a quick nutshell, Bitcoin at the moment seems to be in a reversion to the mean mode. In other words, that elastic band that I talked about seems to be snapping back to its normal state. So it's likely that if we see more selling, and this is the key thing, if we see more selling and more follow through to the downside, then look for these levels that I've just talked about, the 55 moving average, the 100 daily average, near the 11,000 to the 10,000 levels to come into play. However, if Bitcoin manages to recover and gets back above 17,000, then look for more follow through to the upside and a potential move back up to the previous highs and 20,000. Very simple and very straightforward. And remember, guys, always keep it simple. All right, guys, hope this video has helped you. And if it has, please give it a thumbs up. And also, please remember to subscribe to our channel by clicking on the icon on the screen. And I want to wish you all a very fantastic new year. And until the next video update, a fantastic week. Bye for now.